Okay. All right. Well, here's Dennis. Give him a hand.
Hey, brother. Good to see you. Thank you, guys. All right. Now we're going to test to see what you can do. We're going to see if you can do two things at once tonight, all right? In fact, that's what we're going to be talking about. 4 years ago tonight, I shared with this bunch the joke of the year for 2007. The joke of the year for 2007 was one that was making all of the rounds. And now, this week alone, I've gotten it 2 times again. So I don't know if it's making the rounds again, but it fits with everything that we're going to talk about tonight. And it also fits with why we can't get a single or a fly ball at just the right time. Not that I'm distracted in any way by what's going on over there. But this guy's driving through Mississippi, and he's driving down the road, and he's just seen nothing but just country houses and farms, and he's just really bored. And all of a sudden, something catches his attention, and it says, "Talking dog for sale." And he thought, well, that's weird. And he drives on, and he thought, more he drove on, he thought, man, that can't be true. So he turns his car around. He said, I don't have anything better to do. So he goes back, and this old farmer's sitting on the front porch. And he said, hey, I saw that sign out there by the road, "Talking dog for sale." Is that the truth? He said, well, yeah, it's true. He says, you have a talking dog? He said, yeah. He's laying out there in the backyard. Go back there and look at him. So he says, well, okay, what do I have to lose? So he goes back behind the house, and there, lying under a tree, is a great big old dog. And the guy goes up to him, just stands there for a second, and he said, can you talk? Dog says, well, as a matter of fact, I can. He said, man, that's amazing. He said, yeah, it is. They tell me it's unusual. He said, when I was just a puppy, I figured out that I could talk. And my master heard me, and he called the CIA, and they had me brought all the way up there to Virginia. And so they put me to work on doing some espionage, and I did that for quite a few years, but then I got burnt out, and then they took me to the Air Force, and they started using me for drug awareness and inspections. And he said, I did that, and then all of a sudden I was just tired of it all, and so I retired, and I met the dog of my life, and we got married, and we had kids, and they've grown, and now I'm here on the farm, just retired. And the guy says, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. So he goes running back around to the front porch. He says, hey, how much you want for that talking dog? He said, $10. He said, $10? Why so cheap? He said, because that dog's a liar. He didn't do any of those things. So, guys, that's a 5-year-old joke of the year, and it's still a good one, and I didn't see anybody who didn't get it, or you just had heard it before. All right, let me just make a couple announcements here for you. First of all, I've got this one. You know, we've been telling you go the extra mile when a birthday comes along, you know, or Valentine's or whatever, anniversary. So let me just read you this little birthday card to one of our own. Happy birthday, sweetheart. In all my searching, there was not a single birthday card acceptable for you. I will write some of my feelings and wishes and prayers for you. We've been through ups and downs, thick and thin, feast and famine, good and bad, pretty and not so pretty. And I'm just talking about myself. This is probably a birthday that is not the most memorable, but very significant. We are together. Our love has endured all the above. We have endured it all with our single and combined love, faith, and hope in Jesus Christ. With God's strength, He has sustained us. He has carried us, directed us. His armor has protected us from things of this world. With His love, He has saved us. With His power, He has raised us. To God be the glory for the things He has done in us, through us, and He completes us as we, through His divine plan, complete each other. I have wished you 47 birthday wishes during our life together of these 69 birthdays. Wonder who that could be. Anybody been married for 47 birthdays? Chris, have you?
Yep.
Well, I guess that's why this is from Linda.
Oh,
This is for Chris.
that's a shot.
So one more time, happy birthday, sweetheart. Okay? All right. One point. Your mom and my second mother is on the shores of experiencing being ushered into his glorious heavens. Her faith will be a reality. She'll see the clouds from both sides. What a glorious reunion with all the loved ones gone before her. You made her so proud, Chris, and she loves you so much, and you made sure she never doubted that. I remember 2 weeks ago when we last saw her and the gentle, sweet, loving kindness that you showed her. I heard you tell her how you loved her, all that she means to you, and you told her she was your sweetheart, and she said in a very weak voice, "Thank you." God will bless you abundantly for your love, obedience, care, and honor to your mom and dad. They've had numerous times, or they've said numerous times, "Chris, you're a good son." The path before us at this very moment is most unsure. They've got some stuff for God to work out. But we are already reminded of all the many paths He has walked with us, and wasn't He always already there? Thank you, God, for creating Chris for me. Thank you, God, for the parents that raised him for me, and his early salvation because you died on the cross for him to claim. Chris, I love you, and I'm so proud of you, and I appreciate you. Tamara, Teresa, Rachel, Jennifer, Garrett, McKenna, and Glenn have tremendous respect, love, and honor for you. They seek your counsel, guidance, training, prayers, and most of all, your bear hugs. You're a father and a grandfather with all the best adjectives. I only had my father for 8 years, and you showed me what it is like to grow up with a dad. Our girls are so blessed, and the grandchildren are even more blessed for you are their only active Christian grandfather. I always taught them to cherish having you, for that is one thing I missed out on, but God came and comforted me. He held me and had you planned already for me. Who could have a baby boy born in Oneonta, New York in 1942? Is that where you were born? You know who played minor league ball there? Mark McGuire. That was where he played. That's where we stay every year when we go up there. Okay. Just thought we'd chase that one a little bit.
I've been in the Baseball Hall of Fame probably more times than you.
I bet you have. Yeah, boy, just right over the hill. Who could have taken a baby boy born in Oneonta, New York in 1942 and a baby born in Rotan, Texas in 1945 and brought them together in Dallas, Texas in 1963? Our Redeemer could do that. We met and you immediately fell for me and chased me for a few days till I let you catch me. We didn't fall in love. We just recognized that we loved one another through God's plan. Even with slight disapproval, we married in 6 months and they said it wouldn't last. Obviously, it did. Everyone should be so blessed. I will only close because I don't mean for this to turn into a book. Plus, she told me she didn't want to say anything that would embarrass you. So I'm just going to add a few things that I put in here. No. If I haven't told you lately that I love you, well, I do. And without a doubt, you are the sweetest. What I write sticks to you and cannot bounce off. Happy birthday, honey. I love you, Linda. Isn't that wonderful? Congratulations, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Man. Guys, that's what it's all about, and that's what we're talking about tonight. And I know you're hoping for a day when somebody will write one like that to you. We usually don't make many announcements here, but I want to make this announcement. This Sunday night, we're going back for some guys. They go regularly to Bridgeport, to the prison up there, and this will be our third time. in less than a year to go up there, and we always take our guitars, and Roger, when he gets to go, takes his harmonica, and we just have the best time singing old songs and just getting down with those guys. There'll be about 100 of them. And what's going to be special about this one, this coming Sunday night, is we're going to do the Lord's Supper with them. We're taking all of the elements, and then we're going to be there with them. And we would love for you to go. We're going to meet here at 5:15 Sunday. We'll leave at 5:30. We've got vans to take us up there. We'll be back here after we stop at Brahms, of course. It's God's will. We'll be back up here, about 9:30? Or is it later? I don't even remember. Anyway, we have a great time. If you want to go, listen real carefully. We need your driver's license number. That's all we need. And all you've got to do is either give it to Lonnie tonight afterwards. Give him your driver's license number and your name, please. Print it. Or call my office tomorrow, okay? We need all those by Wednesday. So if you want to go, we want you to go. And I can promise you guys, you're going to meet some of the nicest Christian guys you've ever met in your life. One who's been playing in our band recently got out and has a new job, and he's going to have a new wife, he says, because she's got a new husband. And so I'd love for you to get to meet those guys. So if you can, we would love to have you go with us. If you can't, be sure and pray for us. All right. Now, you should have one of these resolutions on your table. How many of you have seen the movie Courageous? Hey, did you like it? Did you notice anything from Men's Fraternity? Well, the guy, not only the guy who acts in it, but the lead part, but the guy who wrote the screenplay, both those guys are in Men's Fraternity. Do you know that right now there are over 175,000 men who are involved in Men's Fraternity in nearly 40 countries of the world. So we're not in this by ourselves, guys, I can tell you that. But this is the resolution from the movie, and I made you a copy so you could just put that in your notebook, and read it in one of our services yesterday. But this is really what all of this is about. So if you'll take that and look it over and maybe show it to your wife, and if you'd like to sign that in her presence, that would be wonderful. But I'm just grateful to Jim McGinty for heading up our PR for this and for presenting me this. Jim, do they have these at Lifeway? Is Jim in here? Took a phone call. All right. I think this is where he got this. Well, in fact, it is. It's from Lifeway. And it's made by Dayspring. So that'd be a wonderful gift to give to a son who's married and or about to get married. Okay. Guys, do you all have a workbook? Does everybody have a workbook now? If you don't have one and you didn't bring $10, raise your hand. We'll get you one so that you can keep good notes tonight as we go through what men need to know about women. So does anybody need a workbook, okay? Just raise your hand. Keep those up. What's going on in the game? Top of the 10th? Top of the what? 11th? And who's in for us? Adams? Feast or famine? Okay. All right. Did any of you go to the ball game Saturday night? Any of you go? We had a good time. Gary, were you out there? My next door neighbor and I didn't know you were out there. Well, I tried to get you to go with us, but I didn't have another ticket. Yeah, wasn't that something? How late did y'all stay? Yep, that's about the time. We left at 8th inning, wasn't it? Okay. Boy, I tell you, it was rain and it was fun. We had a good time out there. Okay. And the great thing about it is it was chilly and cool, and they had plenty of beer left. That was the wonderful thing. They had plenty left. Man, they were trying to give that stuff away. And it was a fun time. And you know what? My brother Marty says this all the time. He says, you guys who live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area don't realize that you're the most blessed people in all the world. And then finally, whatever sports group that was, that just said that we are number one in the nation for sports. And we really are blessed because, I'm from Arkansas. The only professional team we had were the Razorbacks. And that's all we had up there. But anyway, did they get out of that inning, guys? Or are you still in it? Well, all right, let's see what happens. Full count. Betty walks in. No, worse than that. Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep you posted on that. Let's get down to business. Last week, for those of you who may not have been here, we talked about what I consider, and I really kind of apologize because I didn't present it the way I'd like to. I was a little bit distracted with a couple of phone calls that I had right before we started, and so I just thought tonight it'd just be good to just one more time say that probably when it comes to looking in the mirror of your work and asking yourself, mirror, mirror on the wall, am I doing any good at all? And then going to this equal mirror and saying about your home, am I doing any good there either? When it comes to that, or anything else in our lives, the paradox principle that Jesus summed up in Luke 9:23 when he said this, if any man will come after me. It's not just being a disciple of the Lord. It's not just following in his footsteps, but it is literally becoming a part with him. It's if you know the story of Elijah and Elisha, it's those two guys where one says, no matter where you go, I'm going with you. No matter what happens, you can count on me. And so Jesus says, listen, if you want to be different from the world, to come after me, you got to first deny yourself. And that's one of the hardest things for a man to do because it's almost ingrained into us to please ourselves and to do what we want to do. And that's what gets a lot of us into trouble. And so he says, you deny yourself, then be willing to die. And listen, guys, one of the things that I learned through the training of this about 8 years ago was that to die to self means you die a little at a time as the opportunity arises. I used to just think, and I would preach it this way, well, you just choose death to self. You tell me anybody who can do that in one choice, in one moment, and I'll show you Jesus. Because just about the time I'll think I've died to myself gets on the throne again. Anybody else like that? Yeah. So listen, one of the things we're going to look at when it comes to home and work is to die a little as the opportunity arises. That's what it means to die to self. When self pops up, you just die to that moment and that time. Now, the paradox principle is basically that. Here's what it says. You die to what? But you die in order to live. And here's what you find out. You choose death in the strength of the Lord. You choose death, and all of a sudden, as you choose death, all of a sudden you realize, you know what? This pays benefits. This really pays some benefits. When Jesus died and chose to die, when he said there in the garden, and that's where I really think he died first, when he said, not my will, but your will be done. He chose death, but as a result of that, he fulfilled Isaiah 63 when it says that the Father saw his sacrifice and prolonged the days of all the people who came to him. When Jesus died to himself, all of us, it's possible for us to live forever and forever and forever. And listen, guys, the uninitiated man looks at that phrase, die to live, and what word does he see? Die. And he doesn't do it. He doesn't do it because his primary motivation is doing what pleases me. It's all about me. The kids are for me. My wife is for me. It's my house. It's my car. It's my time. And that's what he sees. And he gets that reward. It's called the great nullifier. I'll share that with you in a second. But the guy who sees that there's something more to this, and if Jesus meant it, then I'm going to try it. Die, and he sees what? Live. Live. Die to live. And so he sees this opportunity that comes along where I can die to myself. It's not my way at home. It's not my way at work. And so, Lord, I'm going to choose to die at this time. Now, I tried this last night. I told you last week that I wasn't going to give you homework, but I would give you a couple of challenges. And one of the challenges is I want you to try to do this week. Just sometime during the week at home, choose to die a little bit. Last night, I was so tired. We went to the game the other night, and I thought about coming up here and doing my PowerPoint and my notes, and I thought, handout stuff, and I thought, good night, it's 12 o'clock, and so I just didn't do any of them. But I laid there in my bed, for about an hour and a half, all right, this is what I'll do, and God, this is what I'll do, and then I finally got up. So it was about 2 o'clock before I finally just put my head down, turned the light off. And during all of that time, I was just so tired and ready to go to bed and go to sleep. And just as I did, I saw the living room light through the door, and I realized Cindy wasn't there in the bed. So I got up, and she's been having trouble sleeping. She's had all this stuff going on at work, and then she's writing the material for Heart Sisters, and then some of you have seen her articles in the paper. She's one of the 10 people they chose to write guest editorials, and her third one will be in the paper, I think, tomorrow or sometime this week. But I knew she wasn't sleeping, so I got up and I said, Lord, she's not going to sleep again, and I know she's got a huge day tomorrow. So I'm praying. I pray for her, Lord. And the Lord said, you go in there and die to yourself. And I thought, this is not when I wanted to do that. I was planning on doing that sometime next week. He said, no, you go in there. And one of the things that I knew would help her, she loves to have her feet massaged with lotion. And guys, that's one of the greatest gifts you can give her. You go to Bath and Body Works and you get that stuff when it's $3 for $5, and man, it just lasts forever. And so I said, why don't you come on and lay back down? I said, you've got everything done? She said, yeah, but I'm just worrying about getting it on. I said, just come on and lie back down. So I began to rub her feet, and as I did, I was praying over her, and all of a sudden, she was asleep. I mean, sound asleep. And I put the lotion up and crawled back into bed, and I thought, Lord, this is what you mean. She's sleeping peacefully, and Lord, it was wonderful. And I was refreshed, and you know what, guys? I went to sound asleep. And guess how many points I got? One. Just one. All right? And guys, next week we're going to explain that point system, okay? Because I've been doing some extra work on this point system. So, die to live. That's the paradox principle. And guys, listen, every time we choose to follow Luke 9:23 and we die to self, it always pays dividends, because there's nothing that Jesus tells us to do that is not accompanied by a tremendous blessing. Tremendous blessing. Now, so that's the first thing. The paradox principle is very important. Secondly, be aware of the great nullifier. The great nullifier. Here's what the great nullifier is. You decide, okay, I need all this help that I can get. I need help with my wife. I need help with my kids. I really need to know how to apply the paradox principle at work. And I've never even studied what it's like to be able to do that at work, to die to self. And so I'm going to do that. But what happens a lot of times, we'll work real hard on one while ignoring the other. And guys, you tell me, what is it that most men work real hard on and then use the rest of the time as leftovers? Work. You've heard me say this before. I have never seen a dying man say, I wish I had spent more time at work. I wish I had spent more time away from my family. But almost always you hear a guy say, man, I'd give anything to just go back and redo those early years when they needed me so much. The great nullifier is this. You win at one, but you lose in the other. And guys, here's the thing. You can't have one without the other and be successful in God's eyes or even in your own eyes. Some of us know what that's like. to be very successful on the job, but to be a failure at home. And it's almost always that way. So, it always takes two. Beware of the great nullifier. Then the third thing, true happiness for a man, true fulfillment is winning in both. One of two won't do. One of two won't do. Write that one down. One of two won't do. For every man, you must win in both. Adam was that way. God gave Adam 3 simple jobs to do. Write these down. First of all, before he gave him anything else, he gave him a work to do. A work to do. Did you know that? Before his family even came along, he said, you take care of this garden. And the garden didn't have any weeds. Everything was perfect. The atmosphere was perfect. So it was a fun thing for him. How many of you guys have a job that you really look forward to going to because you like it there and you like the people you work with? Anybody got a job like that? Well, I hope so. I didn't look around and see if our guys are raising their hands, but it's just fun when you know that you're where God wants you to be and that He's placed you there. That's the highest place. All right? So He gave him a work to do. The second thing that He told Adam, I'm going to give you a woman to love. I'll give you a woman. For this cause a man shall leave his father and mother. And God said, you don't even have to go through that part. You don't have to cut the apron strings because he didn't have a what? He didn't have a mom. He said, I'm just going to give you this woman. She's a gift to you. And when it says, and God brought her to the man, that word brought is a Hebrew word for gifted her. Guys, let me tell you something. God knew exactly the kind of wife we would need to be fulfilled and full of joy. And some of you thought that you had a lot to do with it. Let me tell you something. God knew exactly who to give us so that we would depend on Him to love her. It's an amazing thing. We'll look at that more next time. The third thing that He gave him not only a work to do, a woman to love, but He gave him a will to obey. Whose will? God's will. Adam, here are the parameters. I've given you all of this to enjoy. And all of this, Adam, is going to include things that you've never even heard of yet. You've never even heard of climax. You've never even heard of sloppy kissing. You've never even heard of what it means when little kids put their arms around you and love you. All these things I'm giving to you. And I'm just going to make it real simple. You eat of all of this fruit, but you leave that one tree alone. That's all. Just leave it alone. Real simple. God makes it simple for us. A work to do, a woman to love, and a will to obey. Now, those are reminders from the last session. Now I want us to just take a quick turn and talk about the mysterious world of women. It's a real mysterious world, isn't it, guys? When I was a senior in high school, we had the school musical. And I wasn't good enough to have the leading part. We were doing My Fair Lady, but I was the stand-in for the leading part. I played the part. Does anybody remember the guy who was the lead in that? Anybody remember? The real one, Rex Harrison. And what character did he play? Henry Higgins. He was Henry Higgins. Well, that was my part. And only time I got to do my part was in the school assembly. But the cool thing was none of the kids in the school came to the play. Just the parents did. So I got to mess with the girls. You know, it was just a cool thing to sing those parts. Well, one of the things that goes on in that deal, how many of you know the play? Where he finds this country bumpkin girl and he's supposed to turn her into a lady. Well, he begins to try and he just can't do it. I mean, just look at her, a prisoner of the gutter, condemned by every syllable she utters. By right, she should be taken out and hung for the cruel, cruel murder of the English tongue. That's all I remember. Okay, now, but one of do what? We had some culture there, okay? I'm not going to tell you anymore. There's some things I could say about it. I'm sure she was my cousin, so. All right. There's this time where he's with his butler, Colonel Pickering. Remember? Pickering. And they're talking. And so he says to his butler, Pickering, he says, Pickering, why can't a woman be more like a man? And then he sings this song. Would you be slighted if I didn't speak to you for hours? Would you be livid if I had a drink or two? Would you be wounded if I never sent you flowers? And Pickering says, of course not. Then Harrison says, then why can't a woman be like you? If I were hours late for dinner, would you bellow? If I forgot your silly birthday, would you fuss? Would you complain if I took out another fellow? Pickering says, never. Then why can't a woman be like us? And all Henry Higgins was doing was speaking about the frustration that many of us have if we don't realize. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Standing ovation. Man, I appreciate it too. All right, so what happened just then?
Air basically.
Is that the same guy who missed the one last in the other game?
That's the guy who missed it.
That's the guy that missed it. Okay, so how many outs?
Probably 11. Nelson Cruz.
Who hit that?
Napoli.
Napoli hit it?
Dirtbag.
Do what? Boy, there for a second, guys, I was thinking about going back into the entertainment business. Golly. I want you to notice y'all applauded when I said, why can't a woman be like us? All right, let's watch. We got a man on first and second. What? Bases are loaded. And how many outs? None. Cruz is up. Cruz is up.
Grand slam.
Foul ball. That's what he did when he hit the home run. Whoa. That was when? Oh, was it?
One more time.
Hit the other side. Hit my pitch. Walk off, hit my pitch. That'd be great.
All we need is a fly ball.
Just a deep fly ball. That's
Get me off the hook.
It's a good time for prayer.
I tell you what, when everybody was waving those white towels the other night, I got a shot of it. It was unbelievable. All right.
1 and 2.
Don't be afraid. Don't let me look this way. That's his baseball.
The outside again.
Yes! Woo-hoo-hoo! All right! Yeah! Yes, sir! Okay! Man! What? Cruz! Look at this! Golly! That's something.
I think he thought they were losing or something.
Do what?
So it looks like I thought they were losing.
No.
You know how to bring excitement to the game.
Boy, isn't that good? Golly. Way to go, Craig. Way to go. All right. Come on. Everybody up. A big hand. Come on. Okay?
All of us over here in the low rent district, what happened?
Okay. Bases loaded, no outs. 2 strikes, 1 ball. Cruz hits a home run. It's over. Bases loaded. That's it.
Another home run for
Yeah. What a guy. Man. Do what? Y'all hadn't heard anything I said, have you? Okay. Oh. All right. Okay. Look at your outline for a second. Look at part B, number 1, page 15. My what? I finished My Fair Lady, My Fair Cousin. I finished that one. Okay. Whew. Boy, isn't that wonderful? Okay. So why can't a woman be like us? And here's the thing. Throughout the centuries, men have made the horrible mistake of thinking that women are like us, that they have the same things to get excited about that we get excited about, that they feel the way we feel. And so look at letter A under the mysterious world of women, and we'll sum it up this way. Immature men assume women see life the way we do. I think I told this story back in the very first of men's fraternity. Our first Christmas together. You know, I'm 22 years old, and I think I know everything, and I really don't know squat. But I decide I'm going to think through this first Christmas together. This is going to be remembered forever. And so we're at home with her parents. We had driven from Irving to Little Rock, and we're having Christmas morning, and everybody's giving out the presents. And you know how if you have a couple of presents, you have them open the little ones first, and then Don, you're going to open the present or give her the present. So we're doing that. We've given them, the parents, their presents, and so I've given Cindy a couple of presents, and she's given me a couple of presents. And oh, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. And then she gives me the present. And I open up this big box, and I'm glad that my box is bigger than hers because I'm going to outdo her. I've thought through this, and so I open her present to me, and it's a beautiful, beautiful briefcase. I still have it. And I thought, man, you know, I'm in seminary, and I'm trying to look sophisticated walking across there. And man, honey, that was so thoughtful. But now it's time for my present. And I hand her this great big box, and she opens it up, and there's another present inside there. And then she starts opening that one up, and there's another present inside there. And she opens that one up, and there's another present. By the way, Cindy does not like surprises. So by this time, she's beginning to drift a little bit in this gift thing. And then finally, she gets down to the last little box, and she opens it up, and there's a little bitty white box, jewelry, something special. And she opens it up, and inside there's a white envelope, and it's all folded up. And she opens it up, and she opens it, and she looks at it for a second. And I'm waiting for the wow, because it's a 2-year membership to a women's exercise club in Irving. And I'm waiting for the wow, okay? And all of a sudden, by the look on her face, I know we ain't getting a wow. In fact, we may not be getting anything out of it. And then when I see the tears, I know that I'm in trouble. And she says in front of her mother and her father and her sister, "You think I'm fat, don't you?" No. I mean, I go to that. It's a Nautilus exercise club. I like that. She didn't. 2 years paid up. Guess how many times she went, guys? Not one time. Not one time. We're just not the way they are. In fact, real men know that women don't see life like we do, and we work hard to recognize the differences. And guys, one of the things that the Lord told me to do about these lessons that we're doing is what we did in Frat 4. Kind of slow it down. Not get so much principle or so many principles as we just work on 2 or 3 things that we can do to really make a difference. So real men, secondly, know women don't see life we do, and they work hard at recognizing it. Now, in Men's Fraternity 1, we talked about the John Gray of the church, the early in the first century. 1 Peter 3, verse 7. And here's what he says. Husbands, live with your wives, and here's the key phrase, in an understanding way. And guys, one of the things that I found out about this is, number one, I remember the first conscious thought I had when I read this after I had been married a while. And I heard a sermon on husbands, live with your wife in an understanding way. But I think it was live with her according to wisdom or something like that. It was a different translation. And I thought, there's no way. I'd already found out I don't know a whole lot about her. I had gotten my undergraduate work and part of my master's in psychology, and I had already learned at least one lesson that it really took me about 20 years to apply. You know how we learn some stuff, but we don't get it. We still stick around on that other stuff. And I had already learned the lesson when she told me that she had a problem with somebody, that if I were not very, very careful, I was walking in the valley of the shadow of death. And if I tell her how to fix this problem, guess who's going to become the problem? I am. So I'd already learned that one. But now here we are. We've been married a while. And he says, live with her in an understanding way. And guys, one of the things that I've slowly learned is there are so many things about us that are so different. In fact, do you know that they did a study, and the American Medical Association printed this in their whatever that journal of medicine's called. They said that the differences between men and women are 1 to the 7th power. 1 in 101 million differences. That many differences between a man and a woman. A huge amount of differences. So Peter said, this John Gray of the first century, live with your wives, husband, in an understanding way, as with a weaker vessel, and here's the key, since she is a woman. She's a woman. She's not you. And you're going to need, he said, husbands, all the help you can get in learning how to understand her. Yesterday morning, as I was challenging some of our younger guys who probably are just like I was in my 20s and early 30s, I thought all you got to do is just cruise through this. You know, you're getting some sugar here and there, and everything's going well, and you just go and cruise through, and the Lord will help you do it. Listen, I began to learn the more I try to keep living without help, the worse I'm getting, until God had to send some men my way to help me through some of that. And that's why I was saying to these young guys yesterday, we need each other. We need some older guys to tell us, hey, here are the mistakes I made. Mike, yesterday I was telling him about Pete Clater, and when we asked him, I think he was 78 or so, and we asked him, when do you quit lusting? And I didn't say lust in there because they wouldn't have understood that. But and you remember what he said? Yeah, he said, you have to ask somebody older than I am because, I hadn't quit yet. We need each other to say, this is the way you deal with some of these things. So he says, husbands, live with your wives. This is a fisherman speaking who'd finally gotten it in an understanding way, as with a weaker vessel. She's a woman and she's weak. Now, that word weak can be literally, she's not as strong as you are, and that's true. In most cases, that's true. but it also can mean she's very, very fragile. Here's an understatement. They're sensitive, Ray, and easily broken. They can be the greatest treasure you've ever had, or they can be broken simply by not recognizing that she is a woman. And through the centuries, men have decided, okay, I'm stronger than her. So with threats and with anger and all of the other things that men will do to lord it over a woman, we think we're showing ourselves a real man. When guys, when we use anger and intimidation and threats against a woman, we're showing her we're the biggest cowards on this earth. The biggest. The better way, the masculine way, is to live with a woman in an understanding way. So here are two insights. Number one, when it comes to a woman, what you don't know will always, what, guys? Hurt you. Really will. What you don't know will hurt you. And go back to that first Christmas. For a long time. You think I didn't think twice for next Christmas? I still didn't do very well the next Christmas. But, pardon me? At least. Right. Yeah, I gave her more. All right, the second. Do what? Yeah, with our name on it. Okay. When it comes to a woman, what you don't know will hurt you. Number two, when it comes to a woman, watch this. Men get down on what they're not up on. What we don't understand is usually where we'll really get low. Now, we've got all kinds of stuff to talk about, but obviously we had some distractions, and they were good distractions. But I want to close with this. I've done a lot of research since the last time I shared this illustration with you. I first heard Robert Lewis share it, but since then I've done a lot of research on it because it just, the more I think about it, the more it breaks my heart. Let me show you a couple of pictures. Go ahead. Pardon me? Did we reload it? Okay. All right. I want to introduce you to Robert Howard. Just write that name down, Robert Howard. You can Google this and find your own information. And his wife, Robin Mitchell Howard. Robert was a two-time All-American in the triple jump as well as the 100-meter run at the University of Arkansas. He was an All-American for 2 years. He was also a two-time Olympian. He came in second or third in the triple jump, 58 feet. He broke the world record, but he still didn't win the gold medal. He tried out for his third Olympics. This guy who came from up north, but way we found out about him was in Arkansas. And he tried out for the Olympics again in 2004 and came in number 5. And you've got to come in number 4 in order to make the team. And that led to some problems. His wife was a student at Harvard, went there on a full scholarship. She then got her MD from Cornell University, and she and Robert fell in love. They came to Little Rock, and he started working on his MD at the University Medical Center at the same place where she was the resident for neurosurgery, and was loved by everybody. I saw letter after letter after letter about this wonderful, wonderful woman, beautiful, dark-haired woman. He was an African-American man, but loved by Arkansas because, we just didn't have that many heroes up there. And she was loved by all the people in the medical profession. So you can imagine that everybody just assumed that this couple, both of them so intelligent, and so successful in everything they'd done. She had been a great athlete when she had been in high school and college. She was on the track team, and just both of them very, 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 very talented. And everybody just assumed that they're going to be successful in everything they do. So you can imagine how in 2004, March the 3rd or something like that, when the police were called to a dorm at the University of Little Rock, University of Arkansas at Little Rock, to the highest building there, a dormitory. And Robert, this Olympic medalist, this young man who had the greatest future, he's hanging from the 10th story window and drops to his death. Front page of every paper in Arkansas. Sports Illustrated carried it. Well, after they realized who this was, they found out his address, and they went over to tell Robin that her dream man was gone. But when there they are. Thank you, guys. But when they got to her house and looked inside, they broke the door down and found that she had been stabbed 37 times in the chest and was dead. Beside her, they found this letter, and I want to read it to you in closing. I'm sorry, Robin. I did not respect your independence. I am a man in fear of losing things. I miss you loving me, being excited about me. Why can't we love each other the way we did, the way we both deserve to be loved? It's a good question, isn't it? I remember one of the deepest truths God ever told me. It was one time when I was mad at Cindy. And I said, Lord, I just wish you'd discipline her. And he said, I guess I love her more than you do. I guess I love her more than you do. And then when I calmed down, I found out I was the one that needed to be disciplined. It's kind of like later on when one of my good friends and I had a falling out. And I just said, Lord, you just ought to send him straight to hell for what he's done. And he said, you remember, I died for that kind of sin. I died for it. Why can't we love each other the way we deserve to be loved? Guys, whether you're married or not, if there's a woman in your life, we're under orders to love her like Jesus loves us. And there's nobody, I can tell you this for a fact, there's nobody who loves you more than he does. If you and I were the only two filthy, rotten, deceitful sinners, Jesus still would have gone to the cross. Listen to that question. Why can't we love each other the way we did and the way we both deserve to be loved? Well, here's a good way to answer it. Robert, you could have loved her the way she deserved to be loved if you would have lived with her in an understanding way. But instead, you prove the principle that men get down on what they're not up on. Guys, we need to recognize and live the differences between a man and a woman. And we've talked enough in here, those of you who've been with us, to know that in the time that we're married, 40 years, 50 years, whatever, there's a whole bunch of changes in all of that. We've got to learn how to love her. But to learn how to love her, we first got to understand the differences between a man and a woman. If you'll look ahead in the rest of the lesson, you're going to find one of the things that we're going to do is learn the 4 basic needs of a woman. There are hundreds of them, I'm sure. But we're just going to take what's been recognized as the 4 top needs, and we're going to break those down next week. Now, I want to give you a quick assignment. Everybody look in your workbook at page 17. You guys who've been through this before know what we're about to. We're going to talk next week about the differences between a man and a woman, and one of the differences is in personality and love language. We're not going to spend a lot of time on the personalities because we've replaced some of the information in next year's study, The Great Adventure, with the personality differences. But what I'd like you to do is, if you've never done a personality evaluation, you just take page 17, your personality self, and you check one adjective per line that you think best describes you. Are you animated, adventurous, analytical, adaptable? You may have to look some of these words up, but find out which one you are. And then just check one of those all the way down to 40. And then turn the page over and then transfer your marks from the test onto the second page. Like if you checked animated, you'd check animated there on page 18. And that's under the sanguine type. And you'll find out what your personality is. Now here's the real challenge for you. Here's your first assignment. Do this sometime this week. And then pray about taking your wife out for dinner or for lunch and say, honey, let me show you what I did at men's fraternity. And here it is. I'd like you to just tell me, do you agree or disagree with much of this? Get ready, but don't answer her back and don't defend yourself, because then you're going to have the chance on page 19, you're going to ask her to take it and then grade herself. And then y'all will get back together and she'll hand you her sheet, but you're going to say, I agree with everything you put down there. Okay? And you'll get 1 point out of that, all right? Okay. And you guys are wondering about the points. You'll see this next week. It's not a fair thing, I'm telling you. Okay. But now look, guys, here's what's going to happen. First of all, let me give you 3 things, benefits of this. Number 1, she's going to be proud that you brought her into your world. Most of us would say, and we're going to look at one of the primary needs that a woman has is for conversational relationships. And some of us don't talk to our wives that much. In fact, the number 1 thing that women say they wish their husband would do is talk to me and listen to me. So if you just said, honey, could we just spend a few minutes and let me show you what we did at men's fraternity? Number 1, you've brought her into your world. Number 2, you're going to talk to her about something that you've kind of gotten excited about. You're going to find out something about you. But number 3, and this is going to impress the snot out of her, she's going to be so impressed that she's going to call her mother and say, you know what? Bill is learning to be a psychologist. And won't that be good? My husband's going to be a psychologist. He's going to men's fraternity. He's learning all this stuff. All right? Okay. So guys, that's it. Now you've got 3 questions to answer. And let me just say this to all of you. And guys, we have to say this every year. For some men, this will be the first time you've ever been in a group where you can just be real and be yourself. And you may be a little bit nervous about it, so that you don't want to open up to anybody because it's hurt you before, especially if you've been in a church. But as you begin to talk, don't dominate the conversation, okay? One of the things we've seen is every once in a while you'll get a guy who does all the talking. And that leader may have to say, okay, guys, we're going to hold our answers to about 2 minutes tonight. Now, last week, I know you were doing, telling about yourself, and there's nobody more excited about yourself than you, so maybe some of us went a little long. But tonight, let's see if we can get through all 3 questions, and you leaders, you go through that, okay? Now, we want you to talk, and we're going to give you some assignments down the line in next spring when we're going to send you off to do some things that you've never done before, and that's to give your whole history, and you'll get some guidelines about that. So does everybody understand? All right, if you're new do here tonight, and how many of you, did you already do this, Lonnie? How many of you are here for the first time? Let's see your hands. Give them a big hand, guys. Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. We're glad you're here. All right. What you do is you just stay there at your table, or if you're going somewhere else, do that. And God bless you. Thank you for being here, men. God bless you.